Alien, 1979. 20 weird facts you didn't know. More than 4 decades have passed. Yet Alien still chills the spine like the day it first burst from humanity's chest. A film moulded from imagination, but raised on real obsessions, blood sweat, and genuine panic. And if you think you already know everything about it, sorry, the Nostromo still has plenty of locked doors. Behind that cold metal hull lie stories no one dared to tell an actor drenched in real blood mid-scene. A director deliberately sowing conflict to feed fear, and a creature born from human desire, flesh and guilt. Alien isn't just a movie about extraterrestrial monsters. It's the ritual birth of modern fear. Every frame is a cut, every drop of blood a confession. And today, we're prying that door open again to uncover 20 of the strangest, darkest secrets still breathing in the shadows of Alien. Are you ready? Because out there, no one can hear you scream. 1. Alien was originally a comedy. Hard to believe, but the sci-fi horror icon of all time began as a joke. Screenwriter Dan O'Bannon had worked with John Carpenter on Dark Star 1974, a satirical comedy about a bored space crew and a walking beach ball. The movie was made on a shoestring budget, but it was there that O'Bannon saw unrealised potential. If you replaced the laughs with genuine fear, it would be a nightmare. When he met Ronald Shusett, then writing "We Can Remember It for You." Wholesale later. Total Recall, the two fused their ideas: an isolated ship, a strange signal, and an incomprehensible life form. O'Bannon called it a serious version of Dark Star, serious enough to become a moral and biological crisis. From a student film joke, Alien evolved into a generation's lasting nightmare. 2. The chestburster scene, 100% real shock. That moment made Alien a legend and turned the set into a waking nightmare. Ridley Scott believed real terror couldn't be acted, only felt. So he kept the cast completely in the dark about what was coming. No one except John Hurt knew what was about to happen. Hurt's upper body stuck through a table hole, while the lower half was a pneumatic rig packed with blood bags, fake fluids, and real animal entrails from a slaughterhouse. When Scott gave the signal, compressed air blasted, the chest exploded, and a small creature burst out spraying blood and guts everywhere, even onto the ceiling. The cast was not ready. Veronica Cartwright was hit in the face with real blood, screamed in shock and fell backward. A genuine reaction not in the script. Sigourney Weaver recalled the stench of cow and sheep guts was unbearable. We nearly vomited. Yaphet Kotto went home in psychological shock, locked himself in a room and wouldn't speak for hours. The chestburster became immortal cinema. Scott hadn't directed a scene, he'd triggered the survival instinct on camera. 3. June gave birth to the alien before Alien. O'Bannon had written, "Memory about a crew awakened in deep space to investigate a mysterious signal. The framework was there, but not the soul, the creature. He needed something unseen, both horrifying and erotic, but couldn't imagine it." Then came June. O'Bannon joined Alejandro Jodorowsky's doomed mega-project in Paris, where he met Swiss artist H.R. Giger, a man whose nightmares were made of metal and flesh. In Giger's artbone and machinery fused into something hypnotic and grotesque. "I saw my monster right there," O'Bannon said. When June collapsed, O'Bannon dragged Giger to Hollywood, even though US Customs once detained his drawings as obscene. Out of that madness came the Facehugger, chestburster, and xenomorph, a biological evolution of fear and desire. 4. Ridley made Parker and Ripley hate each other off camera. Terror didn't just come from the alien. Ridley Scott engineered it among the cast. Yaphet Kotto Parker said Scott told him to irritate Sigourney Weaver, offset, stay cold, distant, even hostile, to create real tension between their characters. Kotto obeyed. He avoided her, snapped at her, and the set atmosphere soured. After filming, he regretted it. "I really liked her. but I made her feel isolated on her own movie. That unease still seeps through the screen, raw, uncomfortable, and real. 5. Ridley once planned to kill Ripley. Few know that Ripley, one of cinema's greatest heroines, almost didn't survive. In the original ending, Scott intended for the alien to kill her, then sit in the pilot's chair and mimic her voice to send a message to Earth. A bleak, hopeless finale. Fox vetoed it, demanding an ending with Ripley alive to allow sequels. Scott reluctantly shot the now classic final duel between human and monster. He also wanted Japanese composer Isao Tomita for the score, but the studio chose Jerry Goldsmith. Though much of Goldsmith's music was altered or replaced, what remained still crafted one of cinema's most haunting, lonely soundscapes. Thanks to those turns of fate, Ripley lived and legend was born. 6. Filming was pure hell at Shepperton Studios. If Alien on screen is a zero-gravity nightmare filming, it was the earthly version of hell. The movie was shot entirely inside sealed sound stages at Shepperton Studios. No air, no sunlight. Under scorching lights, temperatures exceeded 37 degrees and 98 degrees, and actors wore heavy nylon suits with no ventilation. People fainted every few hours. Medics rushed in with oxygen tanks. Ridley Scott simply gestured, "Keep rolling." Sweat breath and exhaustion filled the corridors of the Nostromo. Sigourney Weaver, allergic to cat fur, had swollen eyes while filming with Jonesy the cat. To make the ship look massive, Scott even had his 2 sons wear miniature spacesuits. Both nearly fainted from heat. Alien is about the coldness of space, yet it was forged in human heat, sweat and exhaustion. 7. The casting of Ripley. When fate was one heartbreak away. The role of Ellen Ripley, Alien's cool, courageous heroine, wasn't written with Sigourney Weaver in mind. When Ridley Scott and Fox began casting, one name led the list: Meryl Streep, Weaver's classmate from Yale. Both actresses embodied exactly what Scott wanted: intelligence, composure, and a gaze that could make even a monster hesitate. But tragedy struck around the time of auditions. Streep lost her partner, John Cazale, the brilliant actor from The Godfather and Dog Day Afternoon. In mourning, she withdrew from all projects. That twist of fate handed the role to Weaver, an unknown stage actress, tall, angular, and far from Hollywood's beauty standards. Yet it was precisely that cold grace and quiet energy that convinced Scott she was Ripley. And he was right. Weaver didn't just survive the xenomorph, she tore apart every cinematic stereotype of women in sci-fi. Ripley wasn't written to be a hero. She became one because Hollywood never believed a woman could live that long. 8. The acid blood idea. A genius fix for a logical problem. While writing Alien, Dan O'Bannon faced a deceptively simple problem that could ruin the script. If this creature is so dangerous, why don't they just shoot it? If the audience could ask that question, the story would collapse. The solution came from concept artist Ron Cobb: give it acid for blood. That single detail changed everything. Its corrosive blood made the alien untouchable. Kill it, and the acid would melt through the ship's hull, sucking the crew into space. Suddenly, brute force was no longer an option. Every decision carried mortal risk. That brilliant twist turned Alien from a monster hunt into a survival puzzle inside a metal labyrinth, where fear itself forced humanity to restrain its instincts. 9. When condoms became a monster's weapon. To create the sinewy, twitching mouth of the xenomorph, the props team did something no one expected. They cut up condoms and stretched the pieces into elastic tendons around the creature's jaws. The material caught light perfectly, moved like real muscle, and when coated with KY jelly, looked disturbingly alive. It was cheap, effective, and made the set look like a bizarre latex laboratory with dozens of condoms hanging from models and props. That mix of low-budget ingenuity and artistic perversity gave the monster its unsettling sexuality, exactly what H.R. Giger envisioned. The line between life, death, and desire should never be clear. 10. The light of the Who. When rock illuminated a nightmare. One of Alien's most iconic moments is Ripley stepping into the egg chamber bathed in eerie blue light as the pods pulse and breathe. Few know that glow came from the rock band The Who. At the time, they were rehearsing for a tour next door at Shepperton Studios using high-powered blue lasers. Lacking budget, Ridley Scott asked to borrow them for the egg chamber scene. When the beams cut through smoke and moisture, they created a haunting, sacred yet sinister aura light that felt alive. Who could have guessed that the glow from a rock concert would become the holy illumination of an alien nightmare 11? Geiger and the art of biomechanical erotica. No one understood human fear better than H.R. Geiger, the man who fused desire and death into one form. When tasked with designing the alien, Geiger didn't draw a monster. He painted humanity's sexual neurosis. The xenomorph's head was modelled after a distorted human skull, elongated like a twisted phallic organ, while its body blended flesh bone and metal, sensual yet revolting. Fox executives panicked. One reportedly shouted, "It's too sexual, fire him." But Ridley Scott refused. "That's exactly what I want, something that makes you unsure whether you're afraid or aroused." The result was a creature both pure and filthy, alive and dead. One that forever redefined how cinema visualizes fear. 12. Ridley Scott, cameraman of his own nightmare. On the Alien set, Ridley Scott wasn't just directing, he was operating the camera himself. Instead of giving orders from afar, he wrapped his head in a cloth, crouched behind the lens, and followed every breath and movement. "I needed to see fear from arm's length," he said. That obsession created the film's tight, sweaty, claustrophobic shots, as if the camera itself were panicking with the crew. Many takes were done once because Scott believed instinct was truer than perfection. When editing finished, someone joked, "Alien isn't just Scott's film, it's his personal nightmare caught on tape." 13. Star Wars saved Alien. Without Star Wars, Alien might never have existed. Initially, 20th Century Fox dismissed O'Bannon's script as a cheap monster movie. But when Star Wars 1977 exploded into a global phenomenon, the studio scrambled for another space project, and Alien was the only script ready. So thanks to a galactic fairy tale, a cosmic horror was born. If Star Wars was the dream of space, Alien was its evil twin, dark, claustrophobic, and soaked in blood. Two films from the same studio, one makes you dream, the other keeps you awake forever. 14. Dissecting the creature when real guts became props. In the scene where Ash dissects the dead facehugger, Ridley Scott wanted something so real you could smell it. The props team delivered mixing fresh shellfish, 4 live oysters, and a sheep's kidney to build its internal organs. Under the studio lights, the goo shimmered as if alive. The only problem, it reeked. The organic material began to rot within hours, forcing the crew to shoot fast while holding their breath. Ian Holm-Ash performed surrounded by the stench of real decay. When the take finally ended, no one could eat lunch. 15. When even the cat got psychological direction. On-screen Jonesy the cat is just Ripley's furry companion. But to make him truly terrified in the scene where the xenomorph lunges down, Ridley Scott pulled a wild trick. In front of Jones, he placed a German Shepherd behind a screen, hidden from the cat's view. When cameras rolled, the barrier was suddenly lifted. Instantly, Jones's fur puffed up. He hissed and backed away in raw panic. No CGI, no fancy training, just pure animal instinct. The result was one of the most authentic moments in the entire film, proof that in the world of Alien, even animals can sense what humans can't describe: absolute fear. 16. The spacesuits. Mobile coffins. The bulky, suffocating spacesuits in Alien weren't movie magic, they were torture devices. Made of thick nylon with no ventilation, they trapped heat under 100-degree 37-degree C studio lights. Tom Skerritt. John Hurt and Veronica Cartwright fainted repeatedly while a nurse stood by with oxygen tanks. Ridley Scott kept filming until his own two sons wearing child-sized suits for the planet exploration scene collapsed from heat exhaustion. Only then did he agree to redesign the suits with air holes. But what they'd already filmed, the heavy breathing, the sweat, the sluggish movements, became the film's most authentic sense of dread. 17. The breathing eggs. When Kane John Hurt leans over that eerie alien egg, it looks wet, slimy, and alive. Ridley Scott wanted the moment to reek of life, so the team used fresh cow hearts and stomachs for the insides, with the egg tube made from real sheep intestines. Under the Who's borrowed blue lasers, the organs glistened and pulsed in the rising smoke as if the egg itself were breathing. The effect was mesmerizing and nauseating. When the camera stopped, the stench of raw meat and heat filled the set, sending the crew running for air. No CGI, no digital trickery, just real guts resurrected by Scott's twisted sense of realism. 18. The real slap and the real reactions. In the original cut, there was a scene where Lambert slaps Ripley after she refuses to let the crew back on board. According to Veronica Cartwright, every time she tried, Sigourney Weaver dodged. After several failed takes, Ridley Scott stepped in and said flatly, "Don't hold back, just hit her." The next slap echoed across the set so hard that Weaver froze, and Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton reacted in genuine shock. The scene was cut from the theatrical release, but later restored in the director's cut. Watching it now, you realise the rawest emotion in Alien didn't come from the monster, it came from terrified humans turning on each other. 19. The facehugger symbol of sexual fear and forced fertilisation. In the early drafts of Alien writers, Dan O'Bannon and Ronald Shusett were stuck. How could the creature realistically enter the ship and the human body? Then Shusett blurted out a disturbing idea. It would work if the alien raped one of them. Crude as it sounded, that thought birthed the concept of the facehugger, a creature that implants embryos through the mouth. Both writers later admitted it was a metaphor for sexual assault and male pregnancy, a total inversion of horror's gender roles. They chose a male victim first, forcing male audiences to experience a kind of violation usually reserved for female characters. From that filthy seed on paper, Alien turned biology into moral horror where reproduction meant surrendering control over one's own body. 20. Explosion on the big screen. Alien premiered in May 1979. No flashy marketing, no big-name stars, just one chilling promise. In space, no one can hear you scream. With an $11 million budget, it grossed over $106 million, won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and turned Sigourney Weaver from an unknown into one of the 20th century's defining heroes. Critics were split at first. Some hailed it as a masterpiece of nightmares, others dismissed it as perverse and obscene. But time took Scott's side. In 2002, Alien was preserved by the US Library of Congress for its cultural and historical significance. It's more than a horror film, it's the birth ritual of modern fear, where science and desire collide in a weightless scream. Nearly half a century later, Ridley Scott's nightmare still hasn't faded. Every frame, every slimy breath of the xenomorph endures because it was made of real fear, real sweat, and real blood. Alien isn't just a movie. It's the unholy offspring of horror and science forcing humanity to face what we try hardest to bury: survival, instinct, desire, and betrayal. Everything morality hides. Ridley Scott dragged into the light, then drenched it in smoke, slime, and screams. So, which alien secret shocked you most? Got another hidden fact? Drop it in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more cinematic nightmares to come.